unlicensed, so we can just talk freely. And then we have a very, very specific system, very high touch. When you become a client at the big table, you get my cell phone, you get most of all the expert team's cell phone, and we roll and we get stuff done for you. We get the stuff done that we need to get done, and you get done what you need to get done. But this is all in service of one big goal, right? The first one, becoming a millionaire and making your kids millionaires. And the truth is, this one actually has the most recent checklist. For those of you that are parents and you say, well, I don't have kids, but I'm 40. You should probably go back and read what you could have, should have, would have done from 0 to 20 to yourself and now to your family. So it's education only. Take a lot of notes. The way I'd encourage you to take notes through today, because it is a little bit like Randy always calls me a fire hose, which, by the way, I'll never apologize for my speed. My speed works based on results. You need to keep up. And I know a lot of you, how many in the chat have been told you should slow down as well? Right. So just take on my language and say, and when somebody tells you, oh, well, you should slow down, Penny, you should slow down, Tiffany, you should slow down. I know you should pick up your pace. Speed always wins the game. So we're gonna get you picked up in pace. You're invited here as many times as you want. We're here every 3 weeks, like clockwork. We don't cancel. We don't move. We are here from 10 to 6 every 3 weeks. At the end of today is when you really want to block your calendar for every 3 weeks, because you're going to come here to get leads. As you can see, we have about 70 people in the room. Our team is texting. We just went live. Our goal is to get 100 in these rooms minimum at every event. And the way, again, to take notes is where in your mind are your gaps. You all had a copy of the Millionaire Maker book, whether you read it or not. It's just sitting somewhere, or it's in your inbox in an ebook. You need to dig in and really understand a lot of the principles. So this morning, we're going to spend a couple hours just talking about what it takes to be a millionaire, the components, the way we live, the way this is a lifestyle for you and your family. And then we're going to talk about the engines that drive every successful business. There are 2 things you have got to have. It's the 2 things I do every time I start a company, and it's the things that we're going to expect you to do. Then we're going to switch gears, because this is about a marketplace. So what are your funnels? What could you sell? What could you do today to make money? If you don't have something to sell, we got plenty of choices that you could just pick up something. This isn't about picking your passion. We're not that kind of company. I don't believe in any of that. I didn't go pick my passion. I wanted the hell out of my job at Chevron. So I became the master distributor of the cash flow game on the Rich Dad Poor Dad team. That was my jump. I just wanted out. I didn't have some big mission. Who knew I was going to become the Millionaire Maker? I mean, none of that was, I just wanted out of my job. How many of you want to just transition? Whatever it looks like, you just don't want to be where you are, whether you want to become an entrepreneur, you want to pick up an extra entrepreneurial venture next to your job. You just know you need to figure this out. How many of you are here because you know this just has to be a change? Say yes in the chat. There's just, you're over it. Like, right. So I wanted out. So it wasn't some big mission and vision or business plan or some big exit I had. I had an opportunity. I jumped and I went. And then you become more purposeful as you become an entrepreneur. So we take your path through becoming a millionaire and becoming an entrepreneur much differently than a lot of what I call cheerleading companies who, you're going to walk on Kohl's break boards. You're going to feel amazing for a couple of days. And then you go home and you're like, what do I do now? We're not going to leave you in what you do now. That's why I designed the company the way it's designed. Very, very how-to. So let's jump in. The goal of this community is to do this. It's to teach you how to live corporate life, which we're going to get to in a minute. Go ahead and go slide, Steve. Flip. There we go. Our goal is to teach you to own nothing and control it all. It's how every millionaire and generational wealth family lives. You own it all through corporate structure and trust. And you own nothing and you control it all because you or your trusts own the shares of the companies, and the companies are held in trust, and it's all protected. So I, for example, Loral Langemeier, don't even have a phone. My company owns my phone. You say, well, don't you have a home line? No, that's owned by a company too. So no, I don't even have a phone. I don't even have a vehicle. I have very few clothes because I have a wardrobe, resolution inside my company. So a lot of you have a long walk to truly live in corporate life. And I'm going to hand it to Jason first. You guys have a fun story about the Rockefellers versus the Vanderbilts, which I still think is a actually hysterical story. And then Randy and Scott will add in.
Sure.
Appreciate you guys being here. This is Jason. He is our insurance expert, a partner of mine in this company. And along your journey, you'll get to know the experts. You actually have no access to experts outside of this call until you join a coaching program or the big table and you come further in. We did not design this so you get to cherry pick who you liked today and who you think you want to work with. Sometimes we recently had a guy say, I just want the tax team. It's like, well, that's good. Doesn't work that way. You get the whole team. It's a holistic approach to your life. So go ahead, Jason.
Thanks, Laurel. I also need to say that I'm a student as well. I started off in the community and came through same kind of thing that everybody on this call is doing. I jumped, took the opportunity. I've learned, leaned in, learned from Randy, learned from Scott, learned from a lot of people, and continue to be doing that. So the story goes that Cornelius Vanderbilt, when he passed away, he left to his heirs more money than what was in the U.S. Treasury at the time. Yet when you go 2 generations after that at Vanderbilt University, there's a very famous family reunion of the Vanderbilts, and there was not a single millionaire in the bunch. Then you go on the flip side, somebody like Rockefeller, they learned how to pass generational wealth from generation to generation and not be eaten up by taxes, lawsuits, and all kinds of other things. And what happens every time a child is born, what they do and how they go about that, they are preparing for the next generation. Right when that baby is born, they're preparing that baby's children and grandchildren to be benefited. And they know how to do it. And it's all tied up around what you're seeing on your screen about owning nothing and controlling everything. Now, parenthetically, I have a podcast, and yesterday I interviewed a man out of Mississippi. He's a tobacco grower. And believe it or not, he's the 5th generation that has trusts, that has a trust set up and how it's done. He's the current generation's caretaker or trustee. And it's working. They own lots and lots of land. And he flat out told me that every year in June, that the direct descendants, they get a distribution. And this year they distributed $2.6 million to those people. So it's not only big names like Rockefellers and Vanderbilts and Rothschilds. It's people that you don't even know that live down the street. People that understand it truly are the millionaires next door.
Absolutely. And Scott is our entity trust expert. Anything you want to add, or I'm going to pass it to Randy and we're going to go jump to the next slide.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all about utilizing corporate structures and trusts. I mean, my son's 25 and has a trust and corporate structure for benefit of my 4-year-old or 5-year-old granddaughter. So absolutely, this is all about the own nothing and control everything as per the way that the Rockefellers have structured it. So yeah, listen in.
All right, let's go to the next slide. So you're going to learn 3 words here today with us. You're going to learn the words committed. So write them down. We're going to teach you what committed is like in a way of living, what jumping is, because a lot of you don't really jump. Another way that I describe jumping is saying yes and figuring it out. That is completely attributed to my Yes Energy book. I say yes to a lot of things, have no freaking idea what I'm doing, and I will find the team that knows what they're doing. So say yes and figure it out is part of the jumping strategy, and which also is being in action at all moments. And then the third that you're going to learn this afternoon is decided. Is how do you live a decided life? And they all stack on each other. So I'm going to start with committed. So committed in my definition, and you're going to keep hearing from us, and we kind of co-lead and teach this so you hear some different perspectives because we're all right from the way we sit and look at it. But committed is at all cost. See, a lot of times you walk around your life interested, and here's what interested language sounds like. Interested language sounds like, oh, I'll think about it. Interesting language sounds like, I'll let you know. Interesting language sounds like I'm not ready, which is hysterical. Like, or here's my favorite, I don't have time. Well, last I checked, we live on the same clock time and we're all run 24/7. So the way you use your time is the problem. It's not that you don't have time. You're using it extremely inefficiently. And we're going to teach you the difference between being busy, because a lot of you are busy, but you're not effective. Effective means you have a direct line to a bank account result that you're actually increasing your income or your assets, your net worth in some level. So commitment is at all cost. And when we take you on and you say, I want to be a millionaire in 3 to 5 years, we take that seriously until you tell us otherwise, which sometimes there's, the life gives you all sorts of challenges, death, divorce, foreclosure, sickness, whatever. I mean, sickness is the number one takedown of wealth, by the way. Number 2 is unplanned estates. And number 3 is divorce. Everybody thinks divorce is the biggest takedown of wealth. It's not. It's an unplanned health situation in the family, followed by a really unprepared estate, which then, divorce is number 3. So Randy, what else would you say about commitment? You love this one.
Yeah, commitment, Laurel, it truly is I always joke, it's that chicken in the pig, right? Ham and eggs for breakfast, the chicken's interested, the pig's committed. But the reality of it is defining commitment for yourself is what's important. It's extremely important for you, for each of you on this call, to determine what's important, because there's a level of importance in there that will also create the level of commitment. And I want to encourage everybody. Interested is awesome. We're all interested. And if you're interested, you'll know when you get off of this call, if you're interested, when you get done today, you'll not do anything else except what you did yesterday. You'll go right back to that. That means you were interested. You might have found some cool things. That was cool. That was interesting. Great way to spend the day. If you're committed, it will change the way you're starting to look at stuff. And you're going to put aside everything else to make it happen. So it's things like, how important is it to you to create a legacy for you and your family? Right. If it's very important, then your commitment level goes up. How important determines how far you're committed. What are you willing to do? How committed are you to the end result? And we'll talk about more of this down the road, but a big part of today is determining, are you committed or are you interested? This community is not for the randomly interested kind of people. It's a pretty committed group.
Yeah, I always say the strong survive, but you know what? That's life.
Yeah,
right? We're also not the participation people, meaning you show up, everybody gets equality. You show up and you roll up your sleeves and you get to work. And all of you are going to get to work in a different way. Some of you have created very interesting messes. We have no judgment about any of it, by the way. We have seen the good, the bad, the interesting. We have seen it all after doing this work for this long. So, you never have to tell one of our team members, oh, I have such unique experience. None of this has ever happened. With the hundreds and hundreds, really millions of people that we have touched through all these years, we've seen it all. I mean, and the most unique things people do to themselves financially and then do to each other and do their families. So we don't have any judgment. We want to just meet you where you are. And then we're going to take you where you want to go. And our goal, and if you're here because you want just a safe, stable life and live within your means and live debt-free, you should follow Ramsey and Orman. They are your people to live within your means and a little bucket life. We are not those people. Right. I have always lived my life completely. And if you read any of my books, you'll know that is if I want something, I make the money to have it. Is how I teach my children. You can have anything you want. By the way, any of you can have anything you want. You just have to make the money to learn to have that life. You say, well, I'm not money motivated. Well, then that's when you get passion and mission motivated. Like I'm beyond taking care of my family. That's been handled for a very long time. This is the mission here is about changing your conversation, truly introducing you to the truth about money because no one's doing it in a holistic way. There's pieces and fractions that are being taught of my work, but it's okay. Let's focus on the funnel. There's a lot of funnel digital marketers. That's one piece. What about all the other parts of being an entrepreneur, being successful, living corporate life, having a trust, having insurance? There's so many facets. In fact, if you really took really some inventory of your life during your day, you're interacting with 10 to 20 financial transactions. You're either buying food, you bought gas, your mortgage or rent was somehow magically or automatically paid, your phone bill was paid, your internet's on, or we wouldn't be here talking together. So everyone has about 10 to 20 transactions financially that occur for them. Most of you do it out of what we call inherited behaviors. It just happens. You didn't sit one day, which is our invitation for you, and commit to, I want this path. I want this path. And by the way, you cannot blend the Ramsey, Orman, philosophy, which is great for a lot of people. It has helped them get out of debt. Probably Dave Ramsey's probably helped more people get debt free. But guess what? You're going to come over here and you're going to get into good debt. You're going to learn to leverage and arbitrage and learn the strategies of the wealthy. They don't teach strategies of the wealthy. They teach you to live debt free in a little tiny box and live within your means. I'm like, if you want bigger means, grow it, which means you need to be here. You need to learn to make money. From 3 to 6 tonight, we have a marketplace for all of you. So those of you that are out on live social, if you want to be here, just go to askloral.com/TMI live. That puts you into this Zoom room. So Steve, if you want the team out there to post on all social channels, just come join us live on the Zoom, because we will disconnect from you sooner than later. But we're going to leave it open for a little while. We want you to hear it and get excited about it. If you go to the next slide, let's talk about who this event is for and who it is not for. So I'm a little biased because I think it's for everyone. I don't care if you're already a millionaire, you're already multimillionaire, especially this first few hours are really, if nothing else, a great refresher. Or the way I would sit, if you were a higher end, person, or you feel like you are, you say, well, how do I know if I am? Well, statistically, if you make more than 100 or $250,000, you're in the higher categories just by those numbers, which is shocking to some of you because you say, well, I don't feel like a millionaire. I mean, just because you become a millionaire doesn't mean you feel like it, because a lot of millionaires that arrive at their first millionaire status, they actually don't have good cash flow, so they feel cash poor. So there's a whole dynamic to understanding how to put this puzzle together. I always say, what we teach is a holistic, like Rubik's Cube. And a lot of you have parts of the Rubik's Cube, but most of your Rubik's Cube is all falling apart and it's on the floor and you don't have the playbook. I've created the playbook. I got the playbook of how you put whatever you did to yourself back together. And it's right here. So I think it's for everyone. So if you are higher end, you come through the morning and here's what I'd also say is, do you have $10 offers, $20 offers, $50 offers? Are you continuing to move and be available on social medias and continue to generate leads from whatever you're doing? So a lot of higher end folks kind of drop off this lower end ticket. And I think it's a massive mistake because it's just revenue you could be putting on autoplay for quite a while and every day of your life. So who it's not for, those who you want to live in a little box. We're just not those people. We are here to push. If you haven't seen how I dress, publicly, I'm in jeans and cowboy boots and leather because I'm here to kick your ass a little bit. So I was Dr. Phil's money expert, and the how's it working for you and let's fix it today is a little more my style. Then we're going to just manifest and just love into this like success of life. It doesn't work like that. Right? Like Randy always says, you can say Maserati, Maserati, Maserati. You're not getting a Maserati unless you make enough money to buy one, or you have enough credit that you could lease one for a minute. So I love Nikki's like, where have you been all my life? Honey, I've been right here just performing and waiting for you guys to show up and change your life. So anything you want to add to this, Randy, Jason?
Yeah.
Scott?
The biggest piece of it is this event, again, it is for anybody, Loral, that has certain wants in their life. If they want to do, be, or have more than they currently have, than they can currently do, than they are currently being, then this is for them. It is angled towards business, education, and growth, how to build and grow your business. And this is extremely important. Everybody listen. It is business agnostic. It doesn't matter if you're a roofer, a computer science person, or you're a fisherman. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Whatever your business is, you sell Amway. Doesn't matter. It is agnostic. It is a proven process. I speak in communities all over the world all the time. Lots of them are wealth creation, small business, entrepreneurs. Nothing does it like this. It is point to point. And there's a reason I take my time to come here, hang out, give a little insight, and support Loral, because her message is the message that needs to get out to the world. So it's not for you. If you're really happy with your W-2, you don't want anything more, you make enough money and you're completely happy with everything you have and your children and your children's children will have out of the performance of your W-2. If that's you, it's not for you.
Well,
Otherwise,
it means you're also submitted to, and you're, by making that choice, if no one's ever told you, you inherently and by design are overpaying taxes, and there's no way around it unless you follow what we're going to teach you. That's it.
that's it. It's that simple.
It's not, that's not a joke. It's not a threat. It's just the truth. And by noon today, a lot of you are going to be a little bit irritated that you haven't been taught this sooner. So let's keep jamming. Next slide. Those of you who stay, here's what commitment means. Just because I have some stress I want to introduce before we get to the top of the hour. Here's what staying means. So if you look to the right side of your screen, you stay at least from 10 to 4. That means you spend an hour in the marketplace, at least seeing how a service-based sales process works. How could you sell on Zoom? How do you make money online? A lot of you don't know that strategy. Some of you just are going to be tweaked and you're going to be like off to the races making more money. Some of you, this is the first time you've ever heard it and you're going to be scared to death because it's going to require you to pick up your phone and be in a relationship, in a conversation with other people. So when you do that, you also have 2 strategy calls, and we have an enormous team here to support you. And you fill out your student profile, which is also known as our gap analysis. For that, you're going to get this virtual swag bag. We say it's priceless because the first 3 things you're going to get, you only get this content at our big table, which is our highest level and longest standing, by the way. We have been doing this since 2001. We are a 22-year-old community, the longest standing community in the world of one topic, which has one agenda, which is to make this happen for you. And even if you become 100,000-aire, we promise your life will be better because you are here and in this community. We live, a lot of what I call Glenn Morshower's energy. Like life's better because you're in our community. Life's better because we showed up and you showed up and we met to help change your life. And guess what? On the other side of this, you're going to be bringing a lot to our community as well. Every one of these gentlemen have been clients. Everyone that's an expert has grown through the community. You start at the community level and you come through. Why? Because we have a certain culture of integrity, high values. We take care of each other. We solve problems. We don't freak out. We don't go to we don't do odd things that a lot of other communities do. So you're going to get my high ticket sales process. You're going to get how Randy teaches specifically a program I built years ago, how to build a business plan. And then Martha on entrepreneurial leadership, which is very different than management. Like I'm a great entrepreneur. I'm a horrible manager. Managing is like, I can do it. It's just not my thing. I enjoy being an entrepreneur and creating. The other thing you're going to get my entire library of the books. The only one you don't get is the kids book. We're still under huge contract with McGraw. We can't give that one away. So you just have to go to makeyourkidsmillionaires.com to buy it. Expression of Your Power, which is a classic mind shift program that Bob Proctor and I did. And then you get my Real Estate is Leverage, How I Became a Real Estate Millionaire. So do those 3 things. And then again, we're teaching you now to lead your life. So when you have done those 3 things and you've stayed. So by the way, if you have to take a quick break, all you're going to do is go like this, mute your camera, then mute your phone, but don't disconnect from the show. That way we know you're here all 10 to 4. You might have to go run an errand or grab something to eat, but just be here. It's also, we don't have to retake attendance when you come back into the show. And then you'll know when you've met with your 2 strategists. And you know if you've filled out a profile. So Steve put the profile link in the chat for those of you who haven't done it, and let's jam. Let's meet the team though. So what I mean by the 2 strategy sessions is not only meet the team, but go to the next slide, Steve. You're going to do a gap analysis. In the first 3 chapters of the Millionaire Maker book, there's a gap. And inside a gap analysis, go ahead and flip Steve one more time, please. The gap analysis is understanding where you are. It's your baseline. Where are you today? And your freedom day, where do you want to be? Right. And that's another word for retirement. Retirement is a horrible word. It's an agricultural word. It means to put cattle to pasture to die. You're not a cow. You're not dying. So I've changed a lot of language. You'll also notice we don't use the word budget. I use the word forecast. Budgets are like diets. No one's doing them. It doesn't work. So we are just disconnecting from language, not only language, but just words that have no association to what the goal is. So we want to know where you are, what you want. And then our coaching and mentoring is the income and asset plan that we help you put together. How do you want to make more money? How do you want to keep the money? How are you going to invest the money? How are you going to get better returns? And so there are 5 strategists that you have been assigned to. Those of you who have just already joined a big table, you don't need to come back through it. You already know you've walked the path. So we have a bunch of folks that work in our office, but I want to start by just introducing you to Laura. Laura's been with me over 20 years. She's worked on many of my floors, ran many of my floors, and knows our product and our brand really well. And then I'm going to introduce Rebecca, Taylor, and Omar. I don't know if Christina's here, but Laura, tell them a little bit about what's going to happen on their strategy session with you.
Perfect. Yes. Thanks, Laurel, and welcome everyone. So the purpose of the strategy session with me is I will invest time with you to talk about where you're at, like literally what's going on with your life right now, financially and otherwise, and what you want it to be. And then we will strategize how to overcome those obstacles to get you bridged to Laurel's expert team. I'm very thorough. I am passionate about this. Like Laurel said, I'm over 2 decades with her. And many of the success stories are actually on this event today that are now experts on her team. So I'm very excited about it. I make you my priority during that time. And so let's make it a great event and let's have a powerful strategy session so we can help you break over from the 2 sides that currently are in front of this screen. Thanks,
Yeah.
Laurel.
Thank you. And Rebecca, I've known, she was actually one of my first millionaires. She was actually in the 1990s before all this started, was one of my cash flow distributors, helped put the cash flow game on the map with me, came all the way up to really helping run my company, and then has been on her own, and invited her back because she's amazing and knows this work as well. So Rebecca, tell me a little about your session.
Yeah, so a strategy session with me is going to be, I'm going to assume that we're doing what you want to do, which is to live corporate lifestyle and become a multimillionaire and kind of get in control of your life. So the team does a really good job of getting your information, and then I'll take that information and we'll develop a roadmap or a strategy for you to hit all the goals that you want to hit. So it'll be direct, it'll be a little bit fast, but I'm assuming that you want change and that's why you're here. So that's how I'm going to operate.
Absolutely. The one thing I do want to clarify, the strategist's job is to find the gap. Like, this is your problem, and their job is to match you with the proper solution. They are not a coach. So they may give you some like guiding, points of how it's going to work, so you feel confident about it. But the first thing that happens when you become a client is you get a hot handoff to myself and to Damon and Jordan. And then I actually do your sequence, which is what do you really need? And then I assign you to a coach. So don't expect them to, give you all your answers. Their job is to assess your problem thoroughly and match it to the right solution. And then you begin. So let's bring Taylor on. Taylor, you want to talk a little bit about your session, and then we'll bring Omar.
Yeah, so I am part of Laurel's community. I went through exactly what you guys did. I did my Millionaire Intensive, and then Laura, who talked earlier, actually brought me into the community. So for me, what I loved was, for the first time, I'm a rural Nebraska girl, like Laurel. And for the first time, I had someone tell me in my life, like, let's go for that. Why haven't we done that? So when we do your strategy call, we're going to figure out what those big wants are for you. And then we're going to find the resources to get you what you want. So I'm excited to help you guys.
All right. And Omar.
Yeah, pretty much these guys kind of summed it all up. Yeah, we just try to find out what you need, where you want to go, and what's the best route there through us.
Absolutely. So if you haven't filled this out, Steve will put the link in the chat. We do have a resource page I'm going to give you in a moment where you can pull down all of this, but we'll put that in the chat. And again, dive in, and this thing should have tick marks all over it, little rabbit ears, bend down. Like, you really need to consume what you need to learn. And what you're going to find for a lot of you, if you have to unlearn what you've learned, because what you've been taught is just so wrong. And it takes a little minute. The first year with us is the biggest, what I call a heavy lift, because we've got to fix your structure. Typically your banking wrong. Your credit cards are wrong. I mean, we see it all. So that's the level of grit. Like, we get down to the nitty gritty, because if somebody doesn't teach you behaviorally how to work, then you might have the right stuff. You might have a lot of structures, but are you certain that the company's right? Your operating agreements are right. Your, whatever investment documents, PPMs are proper. Is it really tied to your trust? Is all of this really right? Or have you just left it to chance because you threw it out to your accounting and lawyer? That's what a lot of people do when it's not accurate. So thanks, you guys. And I want to take a quick poll here really quick. So team out here in our Carson office, get ready for this. You have all been assigned, like, just so you know, and you've been text or emailed. You either haven't responded or didn't get it. But how many of you at this moment do not have one, if not two, of your strategy sessions set up? Just put the word no. Don't put yes. If you have it, don't even respond. I just need no. So team, go through this list and everyone out here needs an appointment immediately. Okay. Perfect. All right, that's actually better than some shows. So they've been text. Yep. And so our team will be reaching out either through a direct message here, or they will be texting you or emailing you some version of connection and sending you a Calendly link to get into a schedule immediately. Now let's go to the next slide. We're going to talk about the second word that we talk about, which is jumped. Every successful person in the world is jumped. Steve Harvey does the best job as explaining this. Let's show the video and then we'll come on the other side and set some context to those two words.
Okay, here's the deal. If you want to be successful, here's the thing you have to do. You have to jump. There is no way around it. You have to jump. Every successful person has jumped. You got to jump. You got to take a leap of faith. You got to dash off that cliff and you got to jump out there as far as you can. Now, a lot of times you stand on the cliff of life and you see other people soaring by, gliding down like a bird flying through the air. You know, they going over to the south of France. You see them on a boat somewhere. You see their family vacationing here, their family vacationing there. You see them dressing like this. You see them in New York, then you see them in London. They flying by. You know why? It's because their parachute open. But the only way to get your parachute to open so you can soar, you got to jump. Now here's the problem. Here's the problem, my friends. When you jump, I can assure you one thing. You listening? I promise you this. Your parachute will not open right away. No, that's the fear part. I promise you your parachute will not open right away. You're gonna hit them sides and them rocks. You're gonna tear your back out on them cliffs. You're gonna cut yourself. You're gonna get wounded. You're gonna get some tears and stuff like that. But eventually, the parachute will open and you'll be soaring. But here's the other caveat. Let me teach you this right here. If you do not jump, I promise you one thing, your parachute will never open. So you're safe, but you'll never soar. You got to jump. I got to go.
So interesting. Did you guys get the metaphor? If you got the metaphor, type yes in the little chat box there, because not everybody gets that. They get enamored with Steve Harvey. But yeah, got good group on here today. So one of the things you want to think about as you jumped, what does that mean? I'll give you my example. I was a school teacher for 9 years before I became an entrepreneur. 9 years. And then one day I just figured out, I'm like, I'm not going to ever make much money here and I'm not going to be able to help people. So I literally quit and started a business. That was the jump right there. I had no guarantee of income, no customers. I just had an idea and I went to work. And so did it work perfectly? Nope. But it ended up in a big exit being bought by a public company. So the idea here is just sometimes you just gotta just jump, man. There's no better way to put it than that. And you heard him say it. Things don't always go perfect. Every investment you make isn't going to work. Every new thing you try inside that business isn't going to work. That's okay. In order for you to get to fruition, it will. And that's the analogy I have. And that first startup I had, in those first 6 months, it was really hard. I didn't really know the industry very well. I was selling something that I didn't have a customer list. There was no internet back then as far as, email marketing. There were no online sales funnels. And you just kept getting beaten and beaten and beaten. but I figured it out. I surrounded myself with good people and I figured it out such that I was able to soar and sell that thing on a 10x of my EBITDA to a publicly traded company. That's the soar. So you're going to get the bumps and bruises, but what you got to be prepared for, just tape an aspirin to it and keep moving. Right, Laurel?
Yeah. Well, and the other part, I can guarantee you, and a lot of you don't get this concept. I was just blessed early at 21 years old. Bob Proctor told me get a database and join masterminds. I'm like, I had read Napoleon Hill's work at 17, Think and Grow Rich. So I got the concepts kind of, but until you live with the support of way smarter people around you, you have no idea what support feels like. That's why mentors are critical. I've been mentored since I was 17 years old. I paid millions to have the right people that are bigger, like billionaire, to be led. Like, obviously I'm leading this enormous community. I've got to be led too. So who's leading me? So I would be, completely out of integrity. Randy's got mentors. Jason, I'm still his mentor. Personally, Scott's had mentors. We are all business partners in many different ventures together, all of us. Why? Because we live the same life. Like, I can trust that I could go into business with any of these three men and any of those strats you met, by the way. I've had businesses with some of them. And we know the corporate structure is right. We know that we have proper operating agreements. We know the trusts are right. We know we're set, because people who aren't set up come to people who are like us, and you look really risky. Like, we don't want you on the team because you're going to come as an individual. Like, you will never do a business deal with Loral Langemeier or Randy or Jason or Scott. Your company will do a deal with our companies. So you end up way in the background, owning it all, right? You're controlling it all on paper, but you're owning nothing, which is where all the protection of your life and generational wealth stands. So super excited. And I love this word jump. I jump every day. I'm probably got a little jump addiction in me because I say yes. And here's the key words when you really read Yes Energy, which you haven't got that book, you need to get it. It's not say yes and figure out how. Because that languaging, by the way, we're linguistic. We have all our linguistic training and NLP training and blah, 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 all that. So when you use those words and say, I'm going to say yes and figure out how, what does that assume? That means you're going to go figure it out. That is not the answer to success or anyone who's been successful. You say yes and you figure out who knows how, who's best in class, and you put that team together and you lead the team. That's how multimillionaires are made. Don't tell me Branson leads at any level of operation of any of the Virgin brands, right? Now, I've been with him on a few airplanes. I know he knows like that, but do you think he knows about Virgin Insurance, which is very, very thriving company in Australia? Probably not. He found the best in the class and he put the teams together and he put his brand on top of it. It's the same thing a lot of the big brands do. So we're talking about bigger things, but for you, how many times in your life are you approaching opportunities and the reason you say no, and I know exactly because I've lived through them. I was 24 years old on a helicopter and I was flying back onshore with Chevron, who offered me at 24 years old a multi-million-dollar contract to build 272 fitness centers on offshore oil rigs. I had no flipping idea what I was doing. I had goggles on, hard hat, the headphones on a helicopter. And I just remember saying, absolutely, I'll do it. And that minute, not even a minute later, a nanosecond later, all the doubt comes flooding in. We know this all happens. All that doubt floods in and going, what the hell are you doing? You don't know how to do this. You don't know how to build a fitness center. You don't know how to do any of this stuff. So at that moment, typically a lot of you back out. Like a lot of you, you've said yes to our strategists. You've said yes to our team. You want to be in this community, but you haven't jumped. So your commitment's light. It's more interested. And you're still standing at the cliff, of which, by the way, you have so much experience over here that when you think you're jumping off a cliff to join our table or join one of our coaching processes, all you're doing in our world is just finally stepping off the curb. Like to us, it's just like, come on, this is normal for us, is what we do every day. So what's not normal to you is normal to us. And you have to trust that's what mentors and coaches do, is provide that safety net. Not only that, we avoid costly errors, we move you faster, and we share this lovely thing called our Rolodex. I can tell you Bob Proctor shared his openly, which is why a big part of what's made my extraordinary success. So Anything else you guys want to add about jumping? We love this. So if once you live a very committed life, you're jumping upon opportunities at all times, you're going to get bruised. I can tell you, I have more bruised stories. You heal, it's fine. But the bruises and the injuries are less. And we don't even use the word failure when you have teams around you that you can lean on. That you can lean on and say, this is happening to me, or this is happening, or what would you do? And even if you think you know, there's going to be someone in this community that has more experience in some area than you. And that's what creates more certainty and reduces risk and increases the reward on all of your success, because we work as a team. So to that point, let's go to the next slide of how this work got developed and why it's so comprehensive. Is I did work with the Rich Dad Poor Dad brand 1996 to about 2000. And then I jumped and was ready for my own. Became a real estate millionaire in 1999. And right behind it, a gas and oil millionaire. I have hit my millionaire status in 8 industries, from supplements to obviously author, speaker, trainer. We've made over, I got to say by now, we've got to be over $1 billion in revenue that we've hit in this brand. And, it was interesting when I taught the cash flow game, and Rebecca can attest to this because she was one of my top game facilitators. Those of you in Canada, Darren Weeks was one of my top guys, Stefan Arnio. Like, if you know these guys from the past, we were all on these teams together. But the Rich Dad, if you played the game and you read the book, it's a damn good story, which, by the way, it's a story. It's not true. It's just a myth. None of that really happened. Yeah, that's like Santa Claus doesn't exist. Sorry about that, but you got to wake up. That was a great story. It motivated a lot of people. And you have to say, their marketing, because of Sharon Lechter, they put Rich Dad Poor Dad on the map like no other book has ever been. And so that gave us a huge opening. The problem is, what does everybody say after they especially play the cash flow game? How do I do this in my life? How do I start? What do I do? How do I get incorporated? How do I get a trust? How do I understand cash flow? And so I knew that when I built this, I wanted a team that knew exactly, they stay in their lane and they're experts in their lane. And we're going to be the how-to people to put this Rubik's Cube together. So you have a perfect, let's see, I have one around here. You have a perfect little Rubik's Cube in your life. Yeah, I don't know what I did with this, but it's around here somewhere. What do you guys want to add to this? Randy, I know you love this slide and you want to add some depth to it.
Well, yeah, the reality is, this is where I usually talk about the why and the how. The why is important. You got to know why. You do have to know why you want to be committed to doing something. That is, I'm not diminishing that. That's not what you're here to do. This is not about self-discovery and walking on fire and chanting Maserati and writing vision boards. This is about the tactical, fundamental actions that you have to do. You've already seen the gap analysis. That's part 1. Got to get that sorted. And when you look at the tactics, the actual tactics of what to do, that book right there, it's still, in my opinion, it's my favorite book that Loral's written. And it is the foundation of everything. It is that good. That's what this community teaches. And we all live by it. I've taken this into corporate places. I've taken this around the world. I've modified it a little bit to some of my own things, and I've implemented it in everything I do. There's a little thread of it everywhere. And so how you do it is just as important as why you're doing it, because without both, you can't get it done. You just can't get it done. So.
And you can't do it all. And as we move into this afternoon, just think about being an entrepreneur. I always say there's up to 7 departments in a company, right? So in order, write this down because there's no slide on this later, right? So to be an entrepreneur, you have to do what we're going to teach you first this afternoon is market. You've got to get people following you that are interested in you. So number 1, you have to get a lead, right? So as you notice, we've been doing an extraordinary job on social media. So do all my teammates because the same team helps run all the marketing or supports it. So once you get leads, now you can make a sale. So you make that lead a client. Without making a lead a client, having marketing and sales, you have no company. You can have the best product, the best service without distribution of marketing and sales. You have nothing. Les Brown says it best. Most people's products, services, and dreams die in the graveyard because they never made it to market. Some of the best books I've ever written. Mary Morrissey, I remember during a big special anniversary or celebration that I was having. I don't remember what it was about, but I've had just a few moments of being blessed in my life. She gave me a very unique book that never made it, but it was one of the best books in the Carnegie era that was probably ever written, but it never really made it because it never got the distribution of like the Rich Dad Poor Dad, or I mean, the Think and Grow Rich stuff. So marketing and sales are key. And right behind it, you have to manage cash flow. So right there, you have the top 3 skill sets of an entrepreneur, which is to Randy's point, we don't care what industry you're in. We'll find you industry experts. We probably have one on the team. What we need to teach you is how to be an amazing entrepreneur. You have to learn to market. You have to learn to sell and manage cash flow, or there is no business. Who cares you have the greatest widget or the greatest lotion or potion, or you have the greatest CBD or whatever you have. None of it matters unless you can get a lead and convince the lead to be a client, which is a sale, and give you money, and then manage your forecasting on how you spend your money. So those are 3. My son just got 2 bachelor's degree, finance and accounting, and a master's in accounting, off to get a CPA. And he still to this day will say, Mom, I've never been taught one thing you teach. Because school all the way through master's programs, and I have a master's degree, Randy's got a master's degree, Jason's got a PhD, I don't know, Scott's for sure got a bachelor's, if not a master's. We all got like heaps of those degrees. They're all cute. We aren't living them a lot because we made up being an entrepreneur. Like, you don't go to school to be an entrepreneur. You hire mentors and you live in their communities is how you learn to do this well. So when people say, well, I can't, be a millionaire because I don't know any. Well, you do. You can come hang out with us. I hung out with millionaires until I became one. And then I hung out with multimillionaires until I became that. So you just keep growing as long as that's what you want to do. So let's go to the next slide.
I was going to jump in there, Laura.
Yeah.
I just recently I was talking to a guy, and he can go back and pinpoint that Tiger Woods has had 5 major swing modifications during his career. In order for him to go from one level to the next, he had to modify his swing slightly, right? And that's exactly what you were talking about, that to go from one level to the next, there needs to be some modification in how you think, what you think about, who you hang around with, and who your mentors are.
It's critical. It's critical. And if you think about everyone that you admire or watch in sports, using the sports, example, every one of them have had specialized coaches. Every one of them have been mentored. They still have coaches. They have coaches outside of their coaches, even at the NFL level. They have speed coaches. They have strength coaches. They have, like, anyone who becomes amazingly successful gets coached. So isn't it fascinating that here you are? Like, how many of you say yes in the chat want to be a 3 to 5 year millionaire? That's really what you want. Like, you don't have a clue in hell how to get there. That's fine, but that's what you want. So how are you going to get there? And yes, you can read all my 6 books and they're going to be great roadmaps, but you don't have someone to process it through. Meaning you could read something and have a different perspective on it. And that perspective could be 20 degrees off and it's wrong. And you wonder, well, I read the book. I thought I did the work. You did it from the perspective of what you had in your knowledge base already. And a lot of your knowledge bases are wrong. They're just not accurate at all. And it's not making you wrong. You're just not going to get there. The only way you're going to really get there is hanging out with us. See how we live, see how we spend money, see how we spend our time, see how we put teams together. We lead a lot. We don't do a lot. And it's a very different game. And then on the next slide, I want to show you what a big table, kind of the metaphor of the big table looks like. It's a good visual. So there you are on the left side, you're at the head of your table and all of these topics are out there, but you don't have the time to learn how to be an expert on all these topics. So that's why I brought Scott to the table to be our corporate compliance, corporate structure, trust expert. Jason's our insurance expert. We have tax experts. We have 401k specialist experts. We have self-directed experts. We have stock software experts. We have kids bank experts. We have bank experts in every one of these categories. So they stay in their lane and become the best in class. And then you sit at the head of the table and you get access to them all by one lifetime tuition. That's all it is to join the table. And it's a smorgasbord. Do you need it all today? No. Are you going to need it all in the next 3 to 5 years? Most of it. The only thing you may not take on are some of the different alternative asset classes. Like, I'm in the business of cannabis. I own one of what will become the largest cultivation and production, soon to have a dispensary. So in the state of Nevada, some people say, I just can't do it. Like, I came from Nebraska. My mom still thinks I'm in the drug business now. So whatever. So some people, like, you're just going to say, no, that's not for me. Or you're going to look at cryptos and NFTs and say, that's not for me. So it might not all be for you, but instead of making an emotional decision, I want you to make a data-driven decision. I want you to know because of why or what it's not right for you. And in some cases like cannabis, it could just be values. It could just be, I don't know. I'm going to say it's a lack of understanding if you really knew what that medicine could do for people, but that's another day, another conversation. Jen Jackson, was married to a Canadian for 8 years in the middle of a divorce with one. So do I know Canada law? Yes. And we have extraordinary Canadian resources. Our CPAs in Canada are like world class, our lawyers, insurance. Scott can actually do corporate structure. We have a guy who does trust. So all this stuff is definitely US in Canada. We used to be in a lot of other countries. We still have resources and we have table members in 6 or 7 continents. But because of COVID, we've really lost touch with a lot of them, and a lot of them, I mean, honestly, some of those experts have passed away. So we just have a new, just brilliant gentleman from Israel who just joined, and we're helping him find these resources again in that area. And what a lot of you international folks will realize is that the US tax code is the best in the world, and you'll start coming this way as you become higher net worth. But we wanted to give you this visual of what our goal is for you. If you really want to play, we want you to play it full out. You want to commit, jump, go all in. And it's not a program you're joining a lifestyle. It's a way that we're going to live and work with you. And again, the next slide, love this slide because this is our NFT we put out last year. We put out NFTs that supported the book, the Make Your Kids Millionaires book. We had 4 different millionaire lions. So if you go to themillionairelions.com, it's a very cool site. Steve, would you push slide, please go forward. We're going to go through these next ones pretty quickly. So we struggle, we never quit. And a lot of you, like, quitting is just not an option. I mean, I've raised my children that way. And by the way, there's only one winner. You're the first loser in second position. So yes, we breed competition, we grow competition. And if you think this participation process is going to work, good luck. I can guarantee you, as a business owner of over 100 businesses and 1,000 real estate transaction, there's a winner and there's a loser. And it's ungodly competitive out here. Capital raising is amazingly competitive. Business is competitive. So to raise like, oh, just because you're an entrepreneur, you're all going to win. We don't pay Pollyanna stuff. We get like, am I going over the top, guys? What would you say? Like,
everybody doesn't get a trophy.
You do not get a trophy. There's winners and losers in women. It's why I stand so strongly for you, especially any of you single parents. I did majority of raising my 2 brilliant children. Logan will be 14 next month, and my daughter will be 17 in October. And when they she recently walked across the stage and got like a participation trophy at a dance competition. She also took 3rd place and like got massive national status, but she walked right by the guy. Said, "Why don't you want your trophy?" She said, "I don't participate, I win." I loved it. So, and that's not arrogant. It's not cocky. You guys have got to teach your kids to like roll up their sleeves a little bit. It's rough out here. If you do not think it's rough out here, then you are protecting them at a very wrong level. And it's gotten rougher with COVID, and we all know it. We can all have our little stories about it. We're not going political and we're not going religion. Those are 2 things I leave off to the side. Because we're just like, from your household is how we're going to teach you. From your household, what can you control? And you can control a lot by the time we're done teaching you what you can control. So Steve, put up the Millionaire Lions, please, on that link. Just go check it out if you want an NFT. We don't have any of the Majestics available that have been sold, but we do have the Courageous, the Royals, and the Nobles, and they're beautiful. These are also going to become, just so Steve and Austin, you take notes, I want these to become merch. So we're actually starting a merch store where you can buy any sort of merchandise, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, all of this with my funny little sayings on them. That'll also have our Millionaire Lions on them. So we have a lot more coming your way. We're also putting a YouTube journal together. A lot of fun stuff's in production for this year, just to enhance what we're already offering to you. The next slide is critical for you to go get your resources. So we never take this away from you now that you've attended. AskLoral.com/TMI stands for the Millionaire Intensive. It's a guide that gives you funnels, a T-sheet. So there's 3 forms that must have you get. You need to get a funnel, which is a blank funnel of how you're going to build your offerings and your pricing. a T-sheet, which is how you're going to take the names, phone numbers, and emails out of this room today. You're not going to get a copy of the chat. By the way, that's illegal to do. It's an FTC violation. So if anybody's giving you copies of chats, they're violating the FTC. They just haven't been busted. You don't want to get busted. Canadians never get busted. You personally could be held liable for $1 million in damages as the owner. They'll pass through your corporate structure to you. So Canadians and a lot of other countries have very, very, very strict laws on how you share data. So we came up with this cool T-sheet where you're going to write down the name, phone number, and email of everybody you're meeting out here. And then you're going to enter it into a spreadsheet into your database. That is the fastest and most legal way to do it. So it's called the T-sheet. You'll see that out there. And then if you've never taken an order, go get an order form. Everything that you need on an order form is right there. For some of you, that's the basics, but a lot of you have never done this before. And those of you who are serious, upgrade right now to VIP. Let's go to the VIP slide. You will not get a replay of this event. The only way you get a replay and other replays, there's many replays because we never have the same show. Last time, I don't think Randy could be on the show. I don't know. It just depends what's going on in the economy. Like right now, we're very intense. We sent you a voice text that said, you know, this is your last month to live corporate life because September is when your company should be filing taxes. We, as wealth builders, don't file taxes in April. We file in September and October, which is welcome to your new tax year. We never file in April. So if you want replays, and why would you want replays for $47? You want them to share with your family and friends. A lot of you, you're married to someone, you don't have a prenuptial or some structure that allows you to sign documents independently. So you should share this with your spouse. You should share it with your parents. You should share it with your kids. You should share it with the 5 people closest to you. If you're serious about doing this, the people around you need to support you, not make fun of you. And some of you, and I'm not going to ask you, so go ahead and put the link. So the link is right there. It's askloral.com/TMI VIP. So go grab the link. You'll have replays forever. We don't take that link away either. So once you get this VIP, but you can't make, say, a September or October show, you can go get that replay. So you have a lot of replays to look at, go back to, repeat, and also just go through the marketplace again. You're going to get all that other stuff. The 2 ththings I want to point to, so you know what they are. CM stands for my cash machine book. A reading room is 8 hours of me explaining how to put that book in your life. PMCIW, like says, put more cash in your pocket. That's that other book. And it's an 8-hour. And those are my 2 income books. How do you generate more income? So that's 16 hours of me teaching you. So for $47, you're getting an enormous gift. So grab that as well. And I think we're done with giving you some of the resources. Let's jump into the core of what it takes to be a millionaire. So it's taken a few decades since 17 years old. What got me on this mission was reading the book Think and Grow Rich. And as I read it, it just occurred to me, like, why so few people can't become millionaires. It's not that hard of a status to reach. People can save for 20, 30, 40 years and become a millionaire, or you can just go make a lot of money, invest a lot of money, and compound it fast and become it in 3 to 5. So it's your path, how you want to take that journey. It's not difficult, it's different. So write those words down. You're going to hear me say that a lot. It's not difficult to become a millionaire. It's different than you've ever been taught. And I call the internet the bathroom wall, because it is the bathroom wall of graffiti with permanent marker. Everything you ever write and every social post you ever put is in someone's server around the world. Even though you think you deleted it, there's no delete button out there, which is also why, like in my Make Your Kids Millionaires book, Kyle and I do talk about, like, take what your kids post on social media very seriously. It is their resume of their future. So casual posts, body picture posts, stupid posts, drunk posts. Believe me, my son just did an 8-month stint in DC at the Intelligence Committee and actually did qualify and got the highest level security clearance. Thank God he did not blow his social media. They went all the way back to 18 years old to social posts, sports posts, party posts, which he did not have. Randy knows. Randy was a big father figure to my son growing up, and knows that kid was raised pretty tightly around a lot of this. So as I studied millionaires, and then Rich Dad Poor Dad came out, and I got back to studying millionaires, it's like, why is it so difficult? And when you really break it down, how do you become a millionaire? It takes 4 things. You've got to make money. If you think of anybody from Bezos and Amazon to Gates and Microsoft to Steve Jobs at Apple, any Michael Dell at Dell Computers, like anybody, they started with a business, and a lot of them started in some office or garage or attic, right? Constant Contact. Alex Stern sold it for billions of dollars, started in his parents' attic with 16 other friends or 11 other friends. I don't know, but you make money, and then you get into a position. You're like, oh, I have to learn to keep this money because I'm overpaying taxes. So then they kind of walk into that whole strategy. So notice all the things from entity to trust to qualified plans, tax planning, all of that's our structures on how we're going to teach you to keep your money. And then you have to learn to invest it. And parking your money with a financial planner is the wrong answer. Why would you leave all your hard-earned money you just made to somebody who probably makes less money than you? And it takes less time. Get this, it takes less time to get a financial security license than it does to cut hair. The person who cuts your hair had to go to school longer than the person you give your money to. Now you should be horribly disgusted on what you're doing to yourself. And so you have to use a team who actually plays a bigger game than you. And so no one is going to play like on my side unless they've already played, number one, and play a bigger game than I've ever played. And they can bring that experience to the team. Randy, what else would you say about this? It's critical that you guys get this.
That particular piece in particular, Laurel, you know how I feel about it. The financial world, Wall Street in general, has I love these guys. No, they have, through the Susie Ormans and the Dave Ramseys of the world, created a system where you can get just enough to live, and they scrape the rest off and keep it for themselves. Think of it like this: if you think in the investment side of the world that institutions and billionaires, places like BlackRock and Fidelity and Schwab, if you think the institution itself is investing its money the way it's telling you to invest your money, then you're solely mistaken. That's not how they do it. And so getting educated around that is extremely important. It's also important not to just throw your money to the wind. You got to be able to do homework. How do you understand these things? You learn all of this stuff in the big table. You learn a nice foundational structure for doing due diligence on investments. I know I teach a lot of it. And so it's important for you to understand that, one, the system's not broke. You know, I think that slide comes later. It was built intentionally for you to be able to live a less life than you want, and then when you retire, live a little less than that. That's how it was built. If you want to do, be, or have more, you must find partners, teams, and education in a way to live like an entrepreneur. And this country is the only place you can really do that in, or it's definitely the easiest place to do it in. As messed up as a lot of the stuff is, our tax code is still our savior in the way in which we structure it. So that's why we built our company, Laurel. It's exactly why we built it.
So go to the next slide, and this is the goal. This is what you all been waiting for. Some of you might have seen this or heard it. We're going to go down here thoroughly. Jason and Scott will jump in even more on this. But here's why it's such a challenge worldwide. And Randy and I literally have been in 6 of the 7 continents. We haven't been to Antarctica together. And there are countries that, they're not blessed with the freedom we have, which is why, here's what I'm just going to say about that. If this country changed too much, we can't live this way. It doesn't work. And you'll see that as we go through this. Capitalism is what's made us free. It's what makes this work. It's not equality for all, because guess what? I can guarantee my work ethic will outrun 99% of you. And that's not a right or righteous thing. It's like I was put here on this planet to solve a hell of a lot of problems and help a hell of a lot of people. A lot of you don't have that same mission or goal or desire, right? I mean, Randy's got his, Jason has his. We're here to contribute to making a better place. And a lot of people are here just to sit on their ass and take. And that's not who we are. Again, that's the participation people. They can work for us. Maybe. I doubt it, because they actually have to go to work, meaning they got to contribute to a problem solving. I don't even like the word work. To me, work is problem solving. Like the greatest entrepreneurs are problem solvers. And the more strategic you learn problem solving, the less bumps you're getting as you jump off that cliff, and the faster you can get your parachute open. So why do you want to be around extraordinarily experienced people? Because you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I can guarantee there are places that I am never the smartest person in the room. Like my marijuana project, I'm in one lane and I'm the best at that one lane. And I have no idea how to do what the rest of that team's doing. I know how to lead them. I do not know how to grow a green plant. I do not know how much nutrients or water they need. I don't know a damn thing about it, and I don't want to learn about it. Why? Because I'm going to stay in my lane. So that there's a premise of your commitment and jumping, which is strengthen your strengths and hire your weaknesses. There's nothing wrong. We all have weaknesses. So the faster you can identify what you are amazing at and just strengthen that. I do 3 to 5 things in my life, and that's it. I have zero desire to learn the how-to of any other thing. How many do you have, Randy? Let's just take a little quiz. 3 to 5 is mine.
Yeah, I'm 2 to 3.
2 to 3.
I get it. I literally, I know my lane and I stay in it.
Yep. And Jason, what are your top strengths? 2, 3, 4, 5?
Yeah, I'd say 2 to 4. I want to add too, this is not theoretical only within this group. Mark Eaton, who is a friend of mine before he passed away, played for the Utah Jazz. Now 7'4" center. He was amazing, right? Yet when he was starting, he was playing in a league down in Southern California, and he was attempting to rebound, run back and forth and do all this stuff. And he went and was resting. And Wilt Chamberlain, who some considered the best to ever play the game, and maybe him or Michael Jordan, came over and talked to him and said, "What are you doing? You're doing too much. You need to learn to do one thing and one thing only and be the best at it." And that's what he did. And that's what made his NBA career. Top performers do that. They do their strength and they collaborate their weaknesses.
That's what every team does, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
not everybody, that's a great example. I mean, not everybody on the basketball court is your 3-point jump shot, right? So you got to put the right teams together, and we're going to help you identify who should your team be. There's just some what I call stock and block obvious teammates always on your team. And then you learn to get specialists, right? And then you get specialists to do more things. So I got like the best specialists in the world on my cannabis project. And I put an extraordinary team together. So you'll learn to do that over time. But here's the problem. Here's what we're taught. Go ahead and put up employee life, Steve. Here, what Joe just said, I'm a problem solver. I don't know how to solve the problems. I get together the team and tackle the issue. So I'm just going to give you a new word, Joe. It's leading the team and identifying the players faster than you've ever been able to identify who really needs to be on the team. A lot of you, if you haven't team built before, you do make mistakes. I mean, I can tell you a million mistakes I've made in hiring or picking the wrong teammate for a reason, because I just didn't see the bigger picture. But I'm also willing to transition those teammates really quickly. Like, you got to go new teammates on the team. So here's the problem. And this is a worldwide problem, right? From kindergarten on, we are taught to go to school, get good grades, be employed, and do all those things. And so here's the gross statistics, though. Still today, if you make 80,000 or more as an employee, then you're in the top 25% of income earners in the United States. This 2021 statistic. Steve, we should probably update that and see where we are coming into 2 years later now. I don't think it's that much more. If you're at 100,000, you're in the top 3%. And if you make $250,000 or more as an employee, you're in the 1%ers. So how many of you have made 100,000? Well, first let's do employees. So Chrissy, I know you're going to document this. So how many of you as an employee have made more than 100,000? We'll test for employment first. As an employee. Okay. Now let's take a new quiz. How many of you as an entrepreneur have made 100,000 or more? And you could be both. Like, we have a lot of people who make 100 as an employee. You'll meet Kamal later today. He's made hundreds of thousands as an employee engineer and hundreds of thousands in corporate life. Okay, here's a problem with this kind of money. You make 80,000, now you're taxed right off the top. This is actually the lowest tax in the world. If you go to Canada, that's 50 to 60% Canadians. Why? Because you get free healthcare. You don't get free healthcare. You just pay 10% more in taxes. They've already paid for it for themselves. If you are in Sweden and Denmark, you get 70% taxes. You can live on 30, but you get free school. None of that stuff's free, right? You're just taxed more, or the employees are taxed more. Then you get this lovely vehicle that Randy could just rant on forever about, called the 401k. Some 401k, so again, back to your notes, if you want us to review your 401k, then take some notes about it. We can do that and see if it's a good one. Like my Chevron 401k was great. but not all of them are treated well. My son's entering into a big CPA firm and a job. And I said, go get the documents, send them back our way to our team, let them review them, because he starts training on Monday. And that's not something he's learned how to do, is look at a proper 401k plan. But the irony of it, the very company that pays you, now you're going to hand your money back to them and hope they give it back to you somehow. Welcome to Enron. They can borrow that money anytime they want. It's called the corporate policy. So I don't know. Like, I just don't, for some of you, you have a 401k in your house and they're the only assets of your life and you think you've made it. And that's a really rocky road to live. It's a risky one. And then you get this amazing offer to have death insurance, which is horrible term insurance. By the way, Jason, you'll be so proud of me. I have some really great, fun YouTube, really snarky, fun videos coming up about death and life insurance. And then if you're really good and you behave, you get rewarded by this thing called a vacation. You're taught that debt and credit cards are bad. You're taught that retirement's a goal. It's an agriculture word, to go to pasture to die. And then you're taught that if you file taxes in April, you're compliant. Nothing like this is all interesting, but this is what we're taught. And when you get here, you think you've made it. So pause on that, right? Here's what we teach, and it's a process. It's a lifestyle. We don't have a program. This is the big table that we're going to teach you to live corporate life. So if you're out there and say, I want to live corporate life, you're walking straight into the big table. Some of you aren't ready for it. You need just an income program for a minute. But a lot of you are ready for it. So here's the easiest way to teach this. I'm going to go back and forth. Your company. So in America, you get 4 choices of companies, and Scott will be the one determining it. I'll come on in a minute, explain the differences. It's an S Corp, C Corp, LLC, limited partnership. They are held in trust because you made. So here's the way I teach it. Here's what wealthy people do that you don't know. And when you're 18 years old, you should get an LLC for your birthday or some company because you're an adult. Like, I believe if you're serious about doing this journey, you and your children should have been incorporated since you were 18. So here's how I teach it. Your company needs to make the money because you get taxed. Your company gets 81,000 pages of tax code. Your employment check gets taxed first. So we make money in our company. Like, if you sent Loral Langemeier a check, I would kind of like giggle and laugh. I send it back to you and say, Loral Langemeier has no reason to make money. I don't make money. I'm an employee of my S Corp. Actually, no, not anymore. I'm an employee of my C Corp, and I get a little paycheck, $36,000 a year, because I'm a single mom of now what was become one dependent. That's all Loral makes, right? So my companies make the money, and I'm a little employee. Because my company makes the money, you get to activate the greatest tax code in the world, 81,000 pages. In comparison, for you Canadians, you only have about 3,400 pages. In the UK and Australia, they're about 3,200 pages, and everywhere else in the world just gets less. So that's why a lot of people come here, because you activate a bigger tax code and a bigger opportunity. So your company makes money. Now you get tax deductions. Then your solo 401k or solo Roth is something that your company owns and you direct. And that's when you'd activate with Randy at iFlip and a software that can invest in the market in a way better way. Then you're going to talk to Jason to get some life insurance, and you're never going on a vacation again. You're going on business trips, and you're going to learn that debt and credit cards are critical to your existence and learning to arbitrage. You're not going to retire. You're going to have Freedom Day, and you're going to file taxes in September on the companies, and then you personally file in October. Welcome to your new life. So could it be any clearer? Like, this is what we teach. In fact, you guys are going to love us. We just got the website that we're going to put up on some of our stuff, specifically livingcorporatelife.com. So I kind of coined the word because, it's like, how do you teach, like, again, there's a lot of companies that do what Scott does, which is just get you incorporated. But he also